everybody, and welcome to our very first The Operating Table, our fun little post-episode talkback, where we talk about the most recent episode and, just give you a little bit of behind-the-scene action. Do you want to do your little operating table voice, Will, just so they can hear it?
The operating table.
Thank you. It sounds like a general hospital. Yeah, I was gonna say we should market this like a general hospital, like soap opera style.
It's Sweeps Week on Sorcerous Origins. The floating rib explosion we had nothing to do with. Sorry, that's a little General Hospital joke.
That one's for all you.
That one's for all you General Hospital fans.
But yeah. I say, let's just get started. We've got a little list of things that happened in the episode. Let's fucking talk about them.
This is the Scry Cave episode.
Yes, the Scrave.
Oh, I love it. Bury me in my Scrave.
Lots of lights.
Lots of lights, lots of things. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this right out the gate. How long did you think that combat was going to last?
Not too long, because it was 6 or like 9, maybe, depending on how you count them, against 1. So I was not expecting it to be that long. And Alops are not like a particularly strong creature, so it wasn't like the big thing of the session. The scrying was the big thing. I just wanted to put in a little bit of world building, a little bit of a fun little caution sign in front of the scrying.
A little, be careful. I know, I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, if I had a nickel for every time Marcus pulled a move that just stopped combat, that just said, we're not doing this right now, we'd have 2 nickels. We'd have 2 drachmas.
That is...
Me too?
Probably. Maybe some halves in there, but the DB one comes to mind of just being like, I'm not fucking fighting this thing. No, I saw it in the streets of Rome. I'm not fighting it. It's mine now.
I'll be honest. I was glad you had the polymorph jar plan, because I had a backup plan. I had no idea if it would work, but I liked how it ended. Was it
sucking the Alep through a straw? What was the backup plan?
What's the backup plan?
Well, so my backup plan was, Gaius likes air. Gaius
True.
Likes to breathe. I was going to do like warding wind, because you had described it as smoke. Not a shadow, which I like mixed up a little bit in the beginning in my head. But you described it as smoke. So my plan was to like warding wind at the entrance of the cave, get everyone out. And since it's warding wind like halves your movement speed inside of it, and it blows away and disperses gases, I was like, I can just trap this thing in.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a very good plan B.
That is a very good idea. I don't know how I would rule that in the moment, but it'd be a very good idea.
You never do know until you're in it. I loved the Alep, by the way. Can I just say, like, the Empyrean corpse with like paper skin, truly one of the sickest moments, like all season, if not all series. So cool. I love things that make me go like, oh, what's going on there? And so it was very good. And I think, we've been talking a lot about like personal stakes and stuff in storytelling, and I thought that was a really great way to like pull last season's things really into the limelight of like Imperium isn't totally out of view. There is still things happening there, and there's still consequences of like Albatius's actions, and we're seeing them here in this cave. It was very cool.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to do with this whole episode, with the scrying and everything, because there'd been a few episodes that we've been out of the of Imperius. And I was like, they deserve a chance to check in on the people that they're looking after. And I think I had a lot of fun with it. Especially Antilles. I think I had the most wild and wacky fun with his.
What the fuck is up with him? What's he doing?
I can't say. I don't know.
Who's to say?
Clayton knows a little bit more. Antilles is an interesting character, because he's very important to Gaius, but we haven't seen a ton of him in the series. It hasn't been super important to the plot of the series thus far. But but that may change in the future. He's one of those like tools in the toolkit, you know? I always have.
Another tool, another Empyrean tool to deal with.
Listen, all Empyreans are tools. Most Empyreans are tools.
Yeah, I was gonna say Avalon's not here to defend herself, but I'll do it. So I just want to say I'm here for the players. I'm the only person in this chat who has not DM'd a campaign in my life. I'm here for the players. I represent the players. Players, how are we doing?
Players, how are we
Players.
But yeah, Antilles I am hoping that he is training to come save us in our 11th hour, an hour of need.
That is what I am hoping
That's what I choose to believe.
I hope he didn't just fucking die.
No, he's fucking
he's
fine.
Probably fine.
How funny would it be?
He's probably fine.
To be like, oh, this character's really interesting. I'm gonna bring him. Gone, dead.
Well, okay, but like, how often has being dead meant someone doesn't come back ever?
Fair
like
enough.
Historically, in this campaign, but like
99.99999% of
we've got 3
in
people
this
in the
campaign, Clayton, and Wild Mount is a non-zero sum of people.
Party.
And yeah, we finally got the Quintus knowledge. It was so
yes,
being like a player and having the meta knowledge of like, this motherfucker is in his house, he is out of, and then it's like you have to be the characters who are just like, man, I sure am glad that Quintus has finally been stopped and has received justice. It's like, oh god. So as frustrating as Quintus is, it was very good to see him at the party, and also it was so good that he was such a tool. Like the fact that he was having such a good time, I was like, I'm furious.
Oh yeah, he had his champagne. No, you can't be drinking champagne when you've instilled a coup against the active government of a government.
Don't say that's the best time to drink.
Well, and like my other thing is like we've been on the road for like a week and a half. We feel like garbage. Like we have not showered. We're halfway through a season of Survivor. Like we're almost to the merge. Here we are. Like none of us are feeling great, and this man's like partying it up. We're like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, and then Octavius is there, and can I say? So I love that Emil looks at it, sees it, and I think we mentioned it in episode or after, but there's a Hunger Games AU Emil note where they do the same thing. But the moment that I loved most about that is Emil's like, something's off about Octavius, and Avalon looks and is like, you're right, like something's weird here. When Augustus turned around and was like, I don't see it, I was like,
that was a good moment, Will.
It was so harsh and like cool. Oh, I love resentment as this narrative device.
It's really.
Oh, do you, Riley? Oh, do you, Riley, who plays Marcus Prospers? Oh, do you love resentment? Is that fun for you? Do you enjoy that in a character? Is that fun for you? Anyways.
As a DM, it's really easy to have like the NPCs who are traveling with the party just kind of be like yes men, just kind of like always agree with whatever the party's doing, whatever they're saying, and I 100% fall into that most of the time with the +1s. But whenever you remember that, like, oh no, these are their own people with their own opinions that will like differ from what the party even like knows based on their dice rolls. It's always fun to play with that.
Was that a dice roll? Did you roll for his
no,
reaction?
not his.
Okay.
Not Augustus's, but on.
Just in general.
Yeah. I won't mention that actually. Never mind.
Oh.
Hey.
I can't wait for how often.
No, wait. That's not fair.
Like, let me. No,
I do that all the time. I had a really fun alternative Octavius scene that I wanted to like. I think it was very fun visually for like a scry thing. But it wouldn't have gotten you guys the information that you needed as like players and characters to like get that to mesh up again. So it's in my back pocket, and I will probably pull it out later. You'll know it when you see it.
Okay.
Suspicious.
Well, and then I will talk about this later because the session kind of ends on an Aster note. But you know, Madigan goes to do the thing, and she goes to do it, and it cuts out, and I'm sitting there like, okay, Regulus is fucking off plane, like he's not on it right now. Okay, we're just not gonna see him. And I think Marcus or somebody says so. It might have been like me out of player, it might have been but Madigan goes, no, that was for Aster, and everybody goes, oh fuck, what? That was such a good, like, shocking moment.
Where did he go? I mean, I have my theory about it, but like, I want to know.
It's so like, sorry, go ahead, Will.
I just really like Clayton's theory that if you want to share.
Sure. So it's a bit of a stretch, and I have no idea if it's correct. This is like a dart in the dark. My theory is that because Cleo is the divine soul, Cleo is like the sort of allusion to the creation of heaven and angels and the divine celestial beings of D&D lore. Aster is an oath breaker. Asmodeus in traditional D&D lore betrayed the gods and the angels, or in some versions, like they betrayed him, but like fell in the same way that Aster is now sort of like rivaled against Cleo. So my theory is that Aster is creating the 9 hells.
I do. It's very like interesting, and I'm very much like here for that theory. But my thing is like, he does not sound like this. Doesn't. I don't think this is on purpose. Like, which granted, like your theory can still work with that. Like this stuff can be happening against his will, but it sounds so against his will that I'm like, this is like a weird like limbo or like trapped or something. Like I don't think Aster is intentionally doing anything other than panicking.
Yeah, it's really hard, I think, for me as a player and also as Cleo. I kind of have to like, and I think this is something that Cleo deals with too, is you kind of have to have both, like, this is something that like you talk about in therapy, like two things can be true. Like, you know, someone can be mean to you and you can still care about them. People can be two things: hurtful to you and someone you were very close to in the past. And I think like that's something that with Aster and with Casarius that I struggle with a lot with Cleo, is that as a objective person who like looks at Cleo Meliora as my special little baby, I'm like, fuck these guys. But I have to remember, like, these are people that Cleo spent like almost a decade of her life, like every day of her life with. Like these were her best friends and like people that she loved really deeply. And like something that's been helpful is knowing that like there is such a clear divide in Cleo's life. Like there's almost this sense that like everything that happened before the campaign is like some other, like, because in a way it is, like on a meta level it kind of is, like it's something that happened off screen, like it's something that isn't as concrete or as tangible. But like, I mean, even thinking like through my own life of like when I've had like really big events happen, it's really hard to start like imagining what your life was like before that, like huge change happened. And I think like that's something that I deal with every time the boys come up. This is something that I like go through internally again, which is really like fun and interesting as a writer to kind of like deal with that with this character. But like, especially now, like I have to deal with the fact that like Cleo is angry with him. Cleo also like was so relieved that he's alive. He's alive. That he's not like completely gone, I think was a huge relief to her, and she might live to regret that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like it's always interesting when the boys come up to watch that little like meter move back and forth with Cleo.
I don't know if the Casarius was the next one, but we also scry on Casarius.
I forgot to put Casarius on the list. I'm so sorry.
Take him off the list. That guy. I didn't even look at the list. See, but this is what I'm talking about, right? Like I we clown on him so much in the chat, and like we just do so much fucked up shit to him in AUs because we hate him. But then I'm like, my poor baby girl Cleo, like Cleo loved him. Yeah. And the thing about it is like Cleo is so hot. Like Cleo is such a good looking girl that I'm like, he has to be hot, and we all have to reconcile with that. Like that's Cleo Meliora. He's a fish.
He's a hot fish, but he is a fish now.
I mean, I guess like for the people who were really into The Shape of Water, maybe this is for you.
I was gonna say this one is for the Breath of the Wild players.
I watched the first 45 minutes of The Shape of Water. I was very ill. I had a fever, and then left because I was like, this is not like conducive to like a good mental space. Left, came back, and then told my mom, hey, I had the weirdest dream that we watched that movie and this is what happened in it. And she was still watching the movie, and I went, what? It was the strangest experience of my life. That's a total sidebar, but I mean, like, obviously like things are different, but like in the before times, I didn't do I have to invoke the name of Oscar Isaac to get my point across here? Because I will. Like, that was my, like, I told Will, it was like, what's it look like? I was like, Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so he's on his little Sorcy's Island, huh, Will?
Yeah. Since this is like the behind the screen kind of thing, this is fun. I asked for like a D10 roll, and I think Clayton gave it. That was for whether or not he had see invisibility up.
Yeah, I figured.
Oh, because it's an invisible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like it specifically says if they can see invisible things, they see this sensor.
Yeah.
And Castrius, his spells are all about divination, enchantment, and paranoia. It like being able.
What school of magic is that? I haven't heard of that program.
It's being a bastard. That's the bastard school.
Okay.
That's so interesting because I was texting Riley about the spells that I'm taking, and I was just saying I think it's so funny that Cleo, who is also like dealing with a lot of paranoia, has leaned so hard into divination. And I didn't clock that about Castrius because I don't know spells. Again, representing the players here who I don't have to know anything because I look good. I think that's very interesting. That's a little interesting to me. I don't know what that means.
Which is also what I found so funny about back in season 1, Riley rolling the wild magic surge and him getting got by his own shit,
Yes.
Yeah.
God, truly.
That's so true.
That's a whole nother conversation about, wild surges. We don't have to get into it right now, but the growing into a 12-foot man, that's been something that, like, I will just very briefly say, it's been interesting to have season 1 be every fucking surge was exactly what we needed. And it was so fun and good for me and Marcus. And we've gone into second season and it's gotten a little bit like less effective. Like it's still doing stuff. He had the shield that like caused the light. But in this last episode, he just grows in like a cave. And so it's this thing where it's weird like to see the surges start to like lose some of their like explicit effectiveness and benefits.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Actually, it's interesting, and I'm curious to sort of pick Marcus's brain about it sometimes. Of like when something happens randomly, but it specifically like you can't control when it happens, but it always is helpful. Like the first 3-4 surges, explicit, like directly helpful to the current situation. And that sort of sets like a precedent in a character's mind, I guess, of like, okay, so I can't control when this happens, but so far it's only been good stuff. And now it's changing to stuff he can't control and is not helping.
Explicitly helpful, yeah. And it's interesting because, who knows what roles will occur in the future, but like I think it would make sense. We're sorcerers. All of our magic is kind of this innate thing. So I think that right now, or in first season, with everything being helpful, it's like, okay, this is an innate thing that like, this must have been something that like I wanted, or like I wanted to see if anybody was in the warehouse. So it happened. And it's more random than any of the other stuff. But I think that there is a line there that you could take if you didn't know about the wild magic mechanics and you were Marcus Prosperous who only ever got good wild magic surges. Is like, okay, I guess this is just another innate explosion of like something that's going to be good for me, something that like is my will and wants. And again, as like Marcus is 12 feet tall now, this is not helpful. This is not something that he wanted. So like it is interesting to see that part of his magic shift.
Yeah. What else we got on the scrying table?
We've got Abby's the parents, Sydney and Maya are not here today, but shout out to the various parents scryed on this episode. Avon's mom is interesting.
That was a complete surprise to me. And I try not to like show when that happened as much, but this one I really had to be like, what is she up to right now?
Yeah.
And I still really like that image of her in the pool. I imagine like a very like bright like reflection off of the water with like a blue room and just her alone thinking there.
Yeah.
It was very like humanizing for her because again, like I think a lot of the villains in this show are villains So it's interesting to see when we have characters who can be antagonists and still kind of be like, she didn't do anything wrong except like be like have bad political ideas, you know what I mean?
And be a bad parent.
Which like how many like, you know, liberal eldest children of conservative parents, like how many people can like, that's a very common experience to kind of be on the opposite side of a political divide, like with your family, and to see that kind of, she's still like a lady, like she's still a person, you know what I mean? And to have this moment of like this very human, like I'm trying to find the right word, because I don't think the word I'm looking for is intimate, but this kind of like,
vulnerable.
You know what I mean? Like this, yeah, vulnerable is the word I would have been looking for. Like this vulnerable moment. Like I don't know. I loved that moment. I was very.
She's still Avalon's mom.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, there is weight to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
So true. Also, I'm so sorry, Clayton. I started slide whistling before I knew you were talking, but a very good point. I slide whistled because it is time for the mid-operation break. I just thought this mid-operation smoke break, but then I was like, we don't want to encourage smoking.
In the hospital?
Well,
the operating table?
Again, we're General Hospital. I'm like, I've just gotten out of surgery.
So this is the part where somebody's husband rushes in. This is the part where somebody's husband rushes in and says, don't use that kidney because Nina's not actually a kid. Oh, spoilers for General Hospital. Nina's not actually Willow's mom.
I can't believe we have to tag this.
No, Nina is Willow's mom. Nina is Willow's mom. Sorry.
Point is, this is a little segment. I'm thinking of doing a different one each episode. This is a little segment that I've titled Bardic Origins, where I'm going to give you a lyric from a song, and you are going to try to tell me which character playlist on Spotify it is on in front of these people. Sarah gasps so hard that the dog.
I gasped so hard that it frightened Charlie, and now he thinks he heard something outside. He's not very bright. It's okay.
So yeah, we'll go ahead. Just lock in an answer. Don't change it if you hear what other people say. We're not going to deal with paper. Just like we'll go for this.
Honor rules.
Honor rules. Yes. So the first one I have for you. What wish will ransom me, unbury violently, all innocence, all innocence.
Can you say it one more time?
What wish will ransom me, unbury violently, all innocence, all innocence.
These are PC playlists, right?
Yes.
I think I have my answer.
I have my answer.
All right, everybody locked in?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Clayton first.
The innocence is making me go Emil. I don't know.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. Will?
Cleo Meliora is my answer.
All right.
I think there's a line, what was it? Unbury me? Something like that?
Unbury violently.
Yes.
Sarah, do you have a guess?
Oh, I have a guess, just a little guess. I do think it's Cleo Meliora. I want to know, Riley, did you pull these from her season 1 playlist or her season 2 playlist?
The season 1 playlist.
14-hour long playlist for the Firehouse AU, or
I forgot you had the Firehouse AU one.
Yes.
Yes, so that is Cleo Meliora. That is Sun Luke's Ransom, which, by the way, Sun Luke's is an incredible D&D song, like great songs in general.
Good.
Riley
every
put
single
that
one of my
on her
playlists.
Yeah, that was a Riley Civ Doug recommendation.
Yes. Okay, next one. The world is changing, you can't reverse it. The truth is with you, you can't rehearse it.
I have my answer.
Sarah, you got an answer locked in?
Yes, I don't feel confident about it, but I'm okay with this one.
William, give it to me.
Avalon Valerius.
All right.
I'm gonna go with Marcus.
Okay. Sarah?
My headphones just died. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, good. I'm also gonna say Avalon Valerius, and not just because Will said it.
That is Marcus Prosperous.
That was my next. See, I was going back and forth between those two.
That's Go Home by Angel Olsen. By the way, Angel
Olsen. What the fuck? I was listening to that song 5 minutes ago.
That's why I thought you'd get this. Angel Olsen has recently released an album called Big Time. It's insane how up in Marcus's noggin she is. We'll get into this, I think, like in the next discussion section after this. But that's from a song called Go Home, where there's a line of like, I want to go home, go back to small things. I don't belong here, which has been added to the playlist recently. And I think if you watch this episode, you'll understand why. All right, last quote.
That's one.
And I miss the days of a life still permanent, mourn the years before I got carried away.
Oh my god, I feel like I know this song. I'm dying.
I know this song.
This segment is killing me. I hope you know that, because I can almost hear the song, and if I could tell what song it was,
that's why I'm trying not to intone it.
Can we get it one more time?
And I miss the days of a life still permanent, mourn the years before I got carried away.
I know this one. Okay. This has to be what I think it is.
Everybody, I'm gonna give you 3 seconds.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. All right, Sarah first.
Okay, so if I'm right about what song it is, I know it's on the Avalon playlist.
All right.
If it's not Avalon, I'm wrong about what song it is. I can't be blamed for that. I'm just a little lazy.
Clayton?
Can you do Will first?
Will?
I'm going to say Emil. I don't know why. Life More Permanent, maybe. I don't know. It also just feels like a Sydney lyric.
That makes sense to me.
See, it's tricky for me because I know exactly the song and I listen to this song a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me want to answer Gaius, but I know it's not on the Gaius season 2 playlist. So unless it's, I've forgotten most of the season 1 playlist, so it might be on there. I'm just going to throw out Gaius. I'll throw out some Gaius for today.
All right. Sarah and Clayton are both correct. This is both on the Gaius playlist and the Avalon playlist.
Is it I Want to Get Better by Bleachers?
Yes,
I
it is.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, good. Because I think I turned Maya on to that song, so I'm very proud of myself. I could be wrong. Maybe we had it before.
I have one last bonus question before we get back to the regular discussion. Bonus question: who is the top artist on the Cleo Meliora playlist? Is it A, the Oh Hellos, B, Mitski, C, Doty, or D, Fleet Foxes?
I can't be held accountable for this. I will not be shamed for this. I fucking won't.
Oh Hellos are tempting, but I'm gonna say Fleet Foxes.
I'm gonna go Fleet Foxes.
Do you have a guess, Sarah?
It's Fleet Foxes.
It's Mitski, bitch.
What?
On season 2?
No, on the first one.
Oh yeah, it's Mitski on the first one.
I would have put
Shore wasn't out yet on the first one.
Revenge Era. I would have said Revenge Era if it was the second
Revenge
season.
Era.
All right. Well, anyways, thank you for attending. Bardic.
That was a really fun.
Thank you. That was really fun. That was.
Yeah, I think the last scry that we had was Emil's parents, which is like Sydney's not here, so we're not going to talk a whole ton about it. But that's been an interesting challenge or opportunity or whatever you call it as a DM of trying to figure out exactly who Emil's parents are, especially in the very low magic world, or like what was a low magic world. So you can't. We more lean away from the like very special chosen one orphan kind of trope, but I do want that to have significance to the plot because we're like telling a story here. And I'm very excited because I think I found a good happy little middle ground. And also just that scene, as when I'm DMing, I am in a very like kind of analytical planning, paying attention to other things, part of my brain. But something about doing that scene got me very emotional. I got kind of choked up during it, which was a lot of fun. It's always going to be a memorable scene for me.
A lot of parent stuff this season. Which, hey, a lot of us have got them, so it kind of makes sense because those have been a lot of the scenes where like you just get emotional about it, whatever is happening.
Yeah, I think
more of us don't have them than have them. I just ran the numbers.
I meant in like people in the world.
In general, yes. In general, yes.
Wait, no, it's 2-2 and then one has one.
So, although Emil, there was that moment of Emil, it cycled through something, so it's that thing of I clocked like, oh, I wonder if the other parent is not in this world anymore.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Side quest.
Yeah, that's a whole the parents thing. I think is a whole other thing, but if we're gonna stick to this episode, I think we can move on to burying the body, which I was surprised by.
Really?
Yeah. If you guys want to talk about it, I'm interested.
I'm curious. Why were you surprised?
I think it's just one of those things that you never plan for as a DM, or at least I don't personally. It's like, I put this piece of like, to be crude about it, like set dressing here. I put this like little storytelling beat here. But it's what's so fun about having players that are like existing in the world, and how you will treat it.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, oh, go ahead, Clayton.
No, you, by all means.
I was just gonna say, like, something that I love in D&D is empathy. Like, I love playing the empathy in D&D. I love it's I can play a villain as a DM, but like when it comes to playing, you know, players and stuff, like so much of it, I know even Marcus, who's a very like, you know, has had a very jaded kind of exterior that he's had to break through, you know, has, I think, a good heart. You know, I know he has a good heart, and I like playing that. And so I think it's interesting because it's also, this is the soul of somebody who was possibly working for Albatius, who had this whole plan to like screw a bunch of people over. So that was a fun thing of like, Marcus is, you know, maybe not the most sympathetic for this one person, but I think he still has this urge. And I, as a player, very much have the urge of like playing the empathy of like, but this was a person who died. And so you bury it because that's the right thing to do.
Was there something else about this is in that same kind of scene of burying the body, you guys also hide the entrance to the scrying cave, which I've had a lot of fun in this campaign trying to make like firsts, like the first sorcerers. This is how the astral plane gets opened, or like when Marcus goes to Bitopia in season 1 of just like opening all these doors. And something that crossed through my head as you guys like seal the entrance to this magical place is like, oh, this is like maybe kind of the first like dungeon, you know, like there is something important of great value in here that we have sealed away, you know, which is just a little fun tidbit.
Finally completed Dungeon and Dragon.
We got
very fun.
The dice operated ats. All right. Ooh. Moving on.
You guys go back to watch, spend the night.
The watches. And again,
nothing happens and no one talks. No one cries at all.
No one cries. Maya isn't here, so we can't go. I love that Abby and Augie scene. It's so good. When did Augustus become such a fucking nerd? And how is he still so like charming?
He's well-rounded. He's multifaceted. Like he's such a hunk, and he still has this like dorky, like it's like the like hot jock has this like fun little nerd hobby, and you're like,
exactly.
What are you doing, huh?
It's Steve Harrington from
it kind of is, yeah.
That's interesting. That's not really how I think of him at all. I don't think of him as like hunky at all. I think
you're thinking about him wrong.
Well,
don't say
brooding.
that.
I remember because my biggest image of him is at the gala where he like everyone's like having a good time partying up, and he's in the corner reading his book. You know,
but that's hunky. That's hot. That's the thing.
Yeah, let me be really clear. Like I've dated several film majors. Like that's where I'm operating from, and that's been fine for me. So like that's where I'm operating from. To be straight.
Was it fine?
But I think the whole birthday thing, especially Augustus forgetting that it was his birthday, is such what I try to do with Augustus a lot, which is like it's funny and it's endearing, but also comes from maybe a place of kind of sadness.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, you must not have celebrated his birthday that much, or you know, or like, oh, where'd you get all the time to make all these paper airplanes? How'd you get so good at making paper airplanes?
Stop saying things. Okay, I'm done with this section. I'm done with this section because if I have to think about Augustus being sad any longer, I'm gonna be so upsetty spaghetti about it.
He made friends with the birds because no one else wanted to hang out.
No. This is not how this is supposed to go.
Stop.
But yeah, well, and then you and I have our fucking heart to heart.
Our little I feel like that was a long time coming. I still am like, I feel like Cleo and Marcus are both characters who like they tell you in writing that like characters don't say what they mean. And like, I think that like Cleo and Marcus are two characters who so often like, I don't want to say talk in riddles, but they're very, I don't, Cleo, I'll speak for Cleo. Like Cleo's very vague about a lot of the things she says. So to have a moment where they are like pretty much entirely open, and to like, even, I think Cleo like struggles to even like articulate herself when she's being like fully vulnerable about something. And to see both of these characters kind of be like, well, here we are. Like, I think that was a very like cool moment for me.
Well, and again, that's listening to Go Home by Angel Olsen.
That'll do
like,
it, yeah.
Which was funny. Like, I had those thoughts before listening to that song, but that song came at a good time of like, I had this weird realization earlier in the season of like, oh God, like, Marcus is tired and Marcus like wants to go home. And I think like something that I really love about Marcus is that he keeps going, you know, is that he always stays and that he always marches forward. And I love and admire that about him. But I think that I was happy for this watch because I think it's worth, you know, in a lot of adventure story, we're telling a slightly different story. A lot of adventures get greatness thrust upon them or whatever. But these kiddos really got it like just thrust upon them.
Fastballed at them,
and so I think, you know, that's always been a theme throughout the story, but I had a realization as like his player of like, oh my God, like how hard is that? Like to be this character and to be like, I have to do this because nobody else will. And again, because Marcus cares about the right thing, but like it's, and I think seeing Quintus is really an impetus for that thing of like, you know, we had kind of talked about this outside of the table of season 1, so many horrible things happened. So many god-awful things happened. You know, we got blackmailed the moment we stepped like out of the fucking Coliseum. Like from the get-go, shit was rough for these characters. And I think that at the end of season 1, there's at least this like, but it was for something. Albatius is gone. Quintus is put away. We've got Dominicus in the Senex. Like there's going to be like good change. And I'm sure there has been, but to see like Quintus at that party, the vision of that is such a tangible moment, I think, for Marcus of like, then what the fuck was any of that for? And I think like that really comes to like fruition with Cleo and Marcus, who are just these people who are fucking tired and they're trying so hard to do the right thing. But Marcus says it like, I wish that we didn't have to. And that doesn't mean they aren't going to, but I think that to let these characters for a moment be like, I wish that there was a life outside of this for the moment was really important to me.
I think, I don't know that for Cleo as much it feels, I mean, I think to a certain extent she's wondering like, what did we do this for? But I think for Cleo that's very rooted in like, what did I spend 9 years of my life being a anarchist for? Like, I think that's more of like, what was my political campaign for? But I think like for Cleo, like I'm very rooted in the Enneagram with characters, and Cleo was like a textbook Enneagram 1. Like I think any modicum of control that she feels over like the right thing happening or like making sure that things are right in the world, I think this was like a moment of kind of one of the last handholds she had slipping a little bit. And I think like with so little, eventually I think this will actually be very good for Cleo, like to kind of have to reconcile with, there are things that happen that you cannot control. And that does not mean that the apocalypse is upon us. That does not mean it's all over. But I think it really does feel that way for her, like in that moment of like kind of losing the last sure grip she had. And especially like Cleo already is out of her element not being in the city. She's been in the city her whole life and her identity is very tied to being in the city, which again is not good and she should outgrow that. But I think like to see something that she feels so like that she sees as such a part of her, to see it threatened when she thought it was finally safe.
At least they hugged though. That was really nice. I'm glad that they hugged. That's the first, I think, like PC hug that Marcus has gotten, and maybe that Cleo has gotten. I'm not sure. So that felt really nice. It felt like a two characters coming. It felt like the nothing moment for Marcus and Avalon, where they kind of have this
Which, like, the parallels to that.
Yeah, because you say Cleo says like something like it's nothing, and I went, oh, okay. but hopefully things will get better for them and they'll feel better.
I honestly think it's one of those things of like, you have to pull back in order to shoot forward. Like, I really think that like Cleo has to learn to let it go. Like, she's not going to, like, very soon, but it's one of those things of like, she has to kind of learn that she is her own person. And I think like watching the ways that Cleo stakes her identity on different things, like, and again, like this interesting thing of like the relationship of Enneagram 1s with like type 4, which is my Enneagram type, if you couldn't tell by the everything about me, and the Fleet Foxes that I listen to. I think like it's very interesting to see the ways that like identity has become a source of like immense stress for Cleo. And I think like that's a natural result of kind of your life falling apart, for like, to put it very bluntly. She's, I think, slowly starting to kind of build herself back up again and figure out who she is, which is a crazy thing to be doing, but like no time like the present, 25 years old, like she is at a good place to be doing this. And I think it's a difficult, like, it's a hard thing to do. And I think it's been very interesting watching her kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I don't know. She's on the right path, but she's carrying a lot with her. So I don't know.
And that's like, ain't that the truth of this entire party? Well, shall we move to our post-op viewer question?
I think so, yeah.
All right. So this is from one of our viewers. If you would like to give us any general questions about Diceoperated, about the campaign, about the campaign, just D&D in general. If you have general D&D questions, send them our way. For context, not everybody is going to be here every week. So send in whatever questions you like, but know that if you're like, I really want to know what Emil was thinking in this moment, that might not be something that we get to, because depends on who's here. But yeah, so this week, this is from Olivia. Thank you, Olivia.
Thanks, Olivia.
The best.
She wanted to know about dice. So do you have a character specific set? Do you use the same dice whenever you play D&D? Do you believe in dice jail, etc.? We don't get to see the dice on camera a lot, so it could be cool to know a little bit more about them. So yeah, if you have questions, you can DM us on Instagram. You can email us at diceoperated@gmail.com.
Comments on this video.
Yes, comments on this very video. Yeah. So yeah, anybody would like to start?
Go for it.
I can kick it off. I feel like mine will be probably the shortest. I have a lot of dice. I have this whole bag filled with bags of dice, and I don't use any of them. I rarely ever break out, because I have a dice box that I was given for like a white Christmas, white elephant Secret Santa thing, and it came with just this nice sort of like red and black Avernus themed dice set. And it's 2d20s, 46, and all the others, and it's all I ever really need. So this is what I usually just break out if I'm playing a game. The one thing I pull out every time for Gaius specifically is, I can't forget if it was Riley or it was Riley who had this weather die that just all the different sides are different kinds of weather. So it's my cool Gaius dice, and I've been trying to figure out a way to like some sort of D6 table where I could incorporate this, because right now it's just, a cloud, a snowflake,
wow, a tornado,
oh wow,
would you look at that?
But yeah, those are my dice. I don't really have dice jail. I just use these guys. I roll my little clacks, and that's it. Sarah.
Okay, so as you can tell by the not my usual decor, I'm house sitting, so I do not have my usual jar of dice. I do have a Cleo specific set of dice that I love very much aesthetically. They have historically rolled very bad, which is very funny because that happens to me like every time. Like, this happened to me in like the last campaign I was in with Miss Jupiter. I get a character specific set of dice and they roll garbage. They roll terrible. And I don't know why. I don't know why I'm cursed this way. I don't know, but I bought these at a game store in Santa Clarita, and I kept them on my person because at one point they were going to be a graduation gift to either Clayton or Riley, and then I had them in my purse and I forgot they were there, so now they're mine.
Love that.
And
we're with you in spirit.
They were literally just crunching around in my purse, and I came here to house sit and they were still in my purse, and then I was like, I was just gonna kind of roll dice in Google, and then I was like, no, but I have stolen illegal dice and I've counterfeit dice in my purse. So these are my purse dice that I rolled for the last 2 sessions.
Yeah.
The most recent, there will be two sessions in which these dice are rolled.
Yeah, the movie magic.
Crunchy purse dice.
May or may not have recorded more than one episode in a sense.
Yeah, you'll tell by my background being that I'm also house sitting in both of those episodes.
I don't think I changed clothes in between the two.
Yeah,
I think some people do. I did not.
I just put my hair up and took a sweatshirt off, either on or off.
Will, what do you hit us with?
I got actually a lot of dice. I don't usually think of myself as like dice goblin or whatever. But I have what I call my DM set, which is a set of 4 like complete 7 dice groups that are in red, green, and then blue and yellow, which are the original Pokemon games. I don't think that was a conscious choice, but I think when I was a child, that was like put into my brain as those are the colors. Those are the good colors. So I have that whenever I'm DMing, just because it's like it gets me enough to roll multiple dice when I need to, and I can designate, like if I'm rolling for NPCs, I can be like, okay, so red is Augustus, blue is, and I can like know that. And then I have my player set or big boy DM time, which is these metal gold and black dice that I use a lot when things get serious. And I roll the big one. Those are all in this big tray. And then my player set, big boy DM time, is in this the Western themed tray that Sydney made for our other campaign that we are in. The Riley DMs. You
have probably heard us mention various character names that mean nothing to you as viewers. Those are usually from the Western. Very
what
nice.
You got, Riley?
Yeah, well, historically, every time I try to show my dice on camera, you can't fucking see them at all. Just kidding. They're so beautiful. So these are my general
drop.
For the podcast listeners, when we inevitably turn this into audio, that'll be a really fun moment of just guttural things and dropping. Yeah, so these are my Marcus dice, and we'll put these on the Instagram, all of our general sets. I love this really like glittery magenta with gold ink, and I love that for Marcus, and they feel positive. Sydney has gotten me some Marcus dice, and I have another Marcus dice set that I will be using when things get harsher. I love it when I was just saying this. Sydney was like, you know, oh, you haven't used the Marcus dice yet. I was like, I love them. They're so beautiful. They deeply scare me aesthetically. They're beautiful. They're in like a special place, and I'll have to put them on the Insta, but they're like a little glitchier. They're very much like the Marcus glitch TM, which is great, but they scare me to roll because I'm worried that things are going to get harsh. But I think as we kind of, as Great Old One shit starts ramping up, I think there will be times for the scary Marcus die. But these are my usual ones. And then I have just various D6s and things like that for damage die. I am very much a dice goblin. There's a lot that I have that I don't use. But yeah, I do use a different set for different things. I don't believe in dice jail because I'm so I'm so committed to these are the Marcus dice that like I'm not gonna use a green and gold dice just because this one rolled bad for me. Also, it's a loyalty thing. It's like these boys have gotten me some great D20s, and yeah, sometimes they get you in that one, but you stand by them. Sydney is the person who is the most, I think, suspicious about. They do the
I'm a dice jail abolitionist.
Yeah, I think the prison system is
I just don't have time for dice jail. I just don't have time to like judge each one. I gotta pick one up. I gotta roll. I gotta see what happens.
Yeah.
And move on.
If
Sydney
I roll real
does
bad with the same
ritual.
dice, I'll grab a different one, but I don't do anything with the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sydney rolls each time before the session to get the highest number on the dice, I believe. And I just go in, I say, whatever you are here to give me today.
Yeah,
Give it to
Sydney
me.
has the
Let's
dice
see.
ritual. I have purse dice that have just been sitting in a purse for over a year, I think. I've just had them sitting. I forgot they were there. I also, my purses are really like, I'm not like a messy, super messy person. I just have a lot of weird things in my purse because I know I'll be able to find them there. Like I have a cartilage piercing that I got changed, and the ring that was in there is still in my purse.
Wonderful.
Again, that was 2 years ago probably that happened, and I like, there's no receipts, there's not really coins loose in my purse, there's just a few strange objects.
A bunch of dice and piercings.
Yeah, in the various purses that I have, I also have a like allegedly cursed mirror in one of my that little orange purse that I have. Yeah,
Unfamiliar. No.
Subscribe
Yeah,
at
the mirror.
at the tier 1 Patreon to see the cursed mirror.
Yeah.
We don't have a Patreon.
No.
If we ever do, we will let you know.
If we ever do, I'll put the cursed mirror up there. If you give me $100, I will mail you the
No
first
one's
cursed
gonna
mirror.
subscribe to the Patreon.
Yeah,
man.
we said if pay us $5, we will curse you every month.
I don't know. I there are some Ghost Adventures looking ass folks who I know would be into that.
Yeah. Well, I believe that is it. The surgery has been successful. I think we can
Fantastic.
take our mask off. God damn it. I could never get out of this job. I love saving people too much.
Is it still General Hospital? Is this the part where one of us gets in a gunfight at the port and then
are we gonna have to tag this with General Hospital?
Washes up in New Jersey with super amnesia and forgets that I'm married, and then Nina shows up and you're like, I don't remember that I know you, and we make out a bunch, and then I go home and my wife married my best friend who was like my right-hand man in the mafia, and also the mafia doesn't trust my wife anymore.
It's just like that, yeah.
There's more that happens in that, by the way. It goes on for like a year and a half.
And funnily enough, exactly that will happen in the next episode of Sorcerous Origins.
Wow.
That's
so stay
crazy.
tuned. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at diceoperated. Subscribe to us here. We are at like 77 subscribers right now, which is very exciting. That's almost 100. So go ahead and subscribe. Email us, send us a little smooch via the sky. Just send a smooch up to the sky, and we'll know it for us. Yeah.
I'll get it.
But yes, we will see you next time in the regular episodes and the next operating table.
See you then.
Ta-ta.